Hey guys, okay, so I have my Mansfield Park review for you guys today. This is by Jane Austen, and I talked about this a bit in my September wrap-up, and as you can tell from the tabs, I kind of stopped tabbing, but it was because for the majority of this book, I was only listening to the audiobook rather than flipping through here, but also what I did was if I heard something in the audio where I was like, oh, I need to go mark that, then I did. But as you can tell from this, I like the beginning of this book a lot better than the middle and most of the end, because a lot of drama happens in this thing. And if you guys know, I'm pretty sure you guys know this by now, but I read this, I watched the film when I was little, didn't like the story, watched the other newer film, the 2007 one, when I was maybe a sophomore in college, and again, really liked the acting, didn't like the story. So then by the time I got to senior year of college, when I was reading this for school, I skim read it, and I'm pretty sure my professor knew, based on my test results, because they were much better for most of the others. I'm pretty sure the worst quiz grades I got were for this one and Emma. Emma I really did want to read, but that was the book that I had a project on with one of my friends, and I was so busy working on the project for it that I kind of just skim read it. But again, I knew the story a bit better than I knew this one, so it was okay. But yeah, these were definitely the two books that I had the worst quiz results for. But then, 3 years later, or about 3 years later, I'm older, I've had a bit more life experience, and I don't know why, but for some reason, the experiences that I've had in the past 3 years have made me not only really enjoy Fanny Price as a character, but also just identify with her a lot more. Because one of the main reasons why I didn't like this book originally is because I thought Fanny was weak and a pushover, and I just didn't, I thought she was sweet and nice, but just, it made me so angry that she let people barrel all over her, and, I just didn't, but then now I understand her a lot better, I like her a lot more, and also, I, of course, have mentioned this several times by now, but what also really helped me with this is, seeing the From Mansfield with Love web series. It is phenomenal. It is one of the best. For me, it's right up there with Lizzie Bennet Diaries and Autobiography of Jane Eyre and In Earnest. It's great. I rewatch it quite a bit, especially now that we're getting towards the end of the web series, because it's still going on. And I think I mentioned that the reason why I wanted to finish this in September is because I wanted to finish it before the series wrapped, because I wanted to know what happened in the original ending before I found out what happened on there. And yeah, I loved it this time. It still is probably lower on my Austen love, I think, but it's still, I just enjoy it a lot more. It used to be my least favorite classic, and now that is not true at all. But sorry, back to the web series. This web series is phenomenal. The acting is incredible. The writing is great. The way that they modernize the events in this are really well done, in my opinion. And incredibly so. But now the bad thing is, they're taking several episodes to kind of talk about the ending and stuff, and that's great, and I love it, but the problem is, I'm very impatient for one specific thing to happen, and just, the videos just keep dragging and dragging, and I'm like, oh, come on, this needs to happen already, so, but it's still great. But yeah, so if you're a fan of the book, then please watch that web series because it's excellent. Now talking about things that I still, I did change my mind about Fanny, as I said, in this, who actually in the new web series is called Frankie, which I think is a better modern nickname. But I don't know, like, and Edmund, I'm still torn on Edmund. I think I like him a little bit better this time round in the book than I did originally, because I think I misread the ending the first time I read this. Like, I thought he was basically just like, okay, yeah, I'll marry her or whatever. By the way, spoilers, I should have mentioned that, but I think I mentioned, I'll put it down in the title, and I think I mentioned it in my wrap-up that these were going to have spoilers, but yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, he is just going to be like, oh yeah, I guess I'll marry Fanny. But then I reread it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you do actually seem to genuinely love her and want to marry her, and then also, what I didn't know that Ronnie over at Ronlit pointed out is supposedly Fanny Price is pregnant at the end of this book, and she is the only one. And I didn't even catch that, but there's a line towards the end where it says that Edmund and Fanny, I guess, stayed in the other parsonage until... It said something like, until such time as they needed a bigger income, and that was like, supposedly that was Austen's allusion to, hey, they're gonna have a kid. Which I just thought that was really cool, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know, I kind of consider Ronnie to be a bit of an expert on this stuff, so, but anyway, and I'll link her channel down below because she's awesome, and I love when she talks about Austen and North and South, and she's just phenomenal. But yeah, so I like Edmund a little bit better in this go around, but he still bothers me so much in the book. I like him so much better in every adaptation, every TV adaptation. I really love him in the web series adaptation, or at least, I don't know, I did, but then a couple of videos ago, like, he and Frankie had a talk that I was like, you just screwed up so badly on every level, I can't even tell you. So that was kind of stressful to me, but for the rest of it, I really loved this adaptation, or this portrayal of Edmund, and I really love the portrayal of him in the 90s film, because he's played by Johnny Lee Miller, and I love Johnny Lee Miller so much. I pretty much think he can't do any wrong, especially, I really love his attraction to playing literary characters. I mean, so far he's played Jonathan Harker in a modernization of Dracula, he's played Sherlock Holmes in Elementary, he's played Edmund Bertram in Mansfield Park, and most importantly, tied with Sherlock, is playing George Knightley in Emma, because George Knightley is my favorite Austen hero ever. I love him so much. And Johnny Lee Miller's portrayal of him was awesome. But yeah, his portrayal of Edmund was really good and, like, very sweet. And I really liked how they had things end with the Crawfords in that one. And that's where I was, like, slightly disappointed with an episode of the web series. Is I was hoping that when Edmund confronts Mary, it was going to be very similar to how it was in the 90s film, but it wasn't. And he, like, didn't stick up for Frankie nearly as much as I wanted him to, and so I was like, okay, dang it. But still, anyway, okay, now I'm just rambling about adaptations, and I'm sorry, but, okay, now we're going to talk about reasons why I still, or, like, things that still really bother me about this book. Mostly, I can't stand the Crawfords at all, and most people, I feel like, don't like Mary, but some people do like her. I mean, I don't know, no offense to those people, but I just hate her. And some people think that, like, Fanny should have ended up with Henry Crawford, and I do not understand that. Like, I mean, it's fine, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but I don't understand. Like, he is just really selfish and a jerk, and, like, just because he loves her, like, okay, great, he ended up, like, starting this as a joke and then realized that he loved her. That's fine. I'm glad that he ended up having real feelings, but it doesn't change the fact that he was a jerk, and he is incredibly selfish, and he's trying to tell Fanny how she should feel about him. Like, he's like, oh, since I love you, you should love me. Like, that's how this should work. And I was so proud of her in the book and all the adaptations, because she's like, no, I know my own heart, and it's not with you. Like, I just don't love you, and I'm sorry, but I don't. And it makes me so mad when Mr. Bertram tries to, like, guilt trip her into marrying a man that she doesn't love. I was like, are you kidding me? No. No. Not cool. And the thing is, I quite liked Mr. Bertram in some of the other parts. Like, I mean, I know that he's, like, supposed to be the big scary patriarch, and everybody's so happy when he's gone because he's he runs a tight ship when he is home. But I really do like a lot of the scenes between him and Fanny, because he really does seem to care for her as a daughter. In some cases, he seems to like her more than his own daughters, which, you know, is unfortunate, but, yeah, so I'm kind of torn on Mr. Bertram, but when he tells Fanny that she should marry Henry Crawford, basically out of gratitude, I was like, screw you, sorry. Freaking hate Mrs. Norris, don't like Rhea. I do quite like Julia, in a lot of it. There are parts when I pretty much think that she is, slightly, I don't know, I want to say silly, but that might not be the right word. But I actually do like her quite a bit, and Tom, and obviously, like, Edmund, I think, is the best of the Bertram siblings. Mrs. Bertram, don't like her. Mrs. Norris, freaking hate. I don't know if I already said that. I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, I just really don't like Mrs. Norris at all. And fun fact, J.K. Rowling named Filch's cat, after this character in, Mansfield Park in Harry Potter. So, yeah. I learned that in Harry Potter's bookshelf, and I need to get another copy of that book, because it's awesome. But anyway, random Harry Potter thing there. But yeah, so I really don't like so many of the characters in this book, and that's really where my still dislike of most of this book comes from, is how many characters in this I just really don't get on with. I mean, I know that there are some characters who you're supposed to really not like, and there are some characters who have good sides and, like, good things about them and bad things about them, but there are just very few characters who I actually genuinely love in this book. Oh, and I love William too, and I think my favorite relationship in this book is the relationship between Fanny and William, because they love each other so much. And oh my gosh, that portrayal from Mansfield with Love, I know I keep talking about it, but oh my gosh, it's the cutest thing ever. And I really love the guy who plays Will, and they're just so sweet as brother and sister. They're like, they have the coolest brother-sister relationship, and it was just endearing and adorable. But yeah, so, overall, I know I spent most of this review just talking about characters, but it's because plot-wise, it's painful to read this because of the plot, because there are so many things that just make you hurt, in the middle and in the end. It's like watching a train wreck and not being able to look away, and that's the only way I can describe a lot of the plot in the middle and, like, towards the end of this. but yeah, I just really ended up loving Fanny Price now, and you know, I hurt for her through a lot of this book. But yeah, I feel like the characters are mostly what I needed to talk about in this review, so I'm really sorry if you wanted like a more in-depth thing about like plot and theme and all that, because I just don't really go into the academics of Austen very much, because I feel like if I do, then I won't enjoy, like I feel like if I'm that analytical with her, I won't enjoy her books as much. So sometimes I do, like, I mean, I took a class on her, so sometimes I do that, but this time I really just wanted to talk about the characters and my enjoyment of this book and how it was much better to me than it was 3 years ago. So, yeah, thank you for listening to me ramble. I'm sorry that this wasn't in a very organized review. Let me know if you've read this in the comments, what you think. If there's a different adaptation that I haven't seen that you guys think would be good. I've seen the 90s one, the 2007 one, and this web series. And if there are any of those that you haven't seen, I highly recommend all three. And also I would recommend this book if you haven't read it. But this isn't the first Austen I would recommend. I would recommend Sense and Sensibility above all others because it is my favorite classic in all the world. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.